Recording is back up. Yeah. So in any case here, first thing is that we probably don't want to be over here. This is probably not the play to be making.
I thought they were going to come out this entrance because I know sometimes teams go, oh, there's the back sneaky door, not the front door, and they go through that hallway. So I was like, let me watch to make sure they're not doing the sneaky play because I've seen teams do this before, and I'm like, oh, team go.
So you've seen teams that come down this alley?
Yes, and they come and they just kind of run into your alleyway here and go, bing bong, people die. Okay. I was just going to back off and go to my team, but I was trying to be there to get the vision, and then
you probably don't need to do that because because you can be back here and know that they're maybe if you don't see them for like 10 seconds after spawn doors open, then you know they're probably somewhere else, right? And then maybe instead what we could be doing is watching and like coming over on this side and just listening for footsteps, maybe peeking and checking from down here. This a really dangerous position because it puts us so far into their team. And then if they come in this way, which I'd say is even more common than going down right side, if they just come down main, well, now you're kind of trapped off on your own over here. Right?
Yeah.
If you try to get out right now.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes, but I'd say this is probably not the play to be making. I would just sit back with your team and spam them as they come in. Yeah.
I should try that again. I'm on the enemy here.
All right.
Stabilizing system.
And we died. Right. So kind of as predicted. That's just because we're really far into their team, and then they can push us very easily. They're going to push us very easily, especially like the higher up we go. They're going to punish that more. And you're not always going to get someone who's AFK as well.
Dusting off.
Oh, you can stand there. Okay, I'll have to keep that in mind.
Objective lost. Stop the payload. Advancing upward.
Okay. I would probably be firing some more. Oh, there you go. Some more stickies in just for in terms of spam damage, getting more damage out there. Generally speaking, you use your sticky bombs pretty much off cooldown. Just like every time you get it, you're putting it out there because it's gonna get you a lot of extra damage out on the field.
Makes sense.
Okay. Good shots there. Once we see that she's half HP, that's probably where we follow up with Beam. Beam's just going to be fantastic in bursting down someone after they're half HP. So I probably pull that out rather than the stickies, which we pulled out the stickies. Usually in terms of like attacking, stickies kind of are the first thing you throw in, not the follow-up, because they're such slow follow-up because it takes time for them to travel and then it takes time for them to explode. Usually it's best if they go in first rather than going in second, just because by the time they explode, they could have already been healed, they could have gotten it away, they could have gone around a corner, they could have used like, you know, Wraith like this here, right? More as fading away, that sort of thing.
Trying to play that's kind of high ground to keep the angle of like, oh, I'm on high ground. They can't just push for free without walking forward for free. Kind of having to pay attention to my spam.
The high ground's a good idea. Right now, just maybe be requesting healing. Okay. All right. Maybe gonna go over a couple things in mechanics in a moment. Main thing I would say is make sure. So two things. Right. Firstly, it looks like a lot of our gameplay as of the moment is very spammy, and that's not always a bad thing, but spammy usually wants to come when you are in between fights, not
Okay.
in fights. When you're in a fight, spammy probably wants to be happening less, because the more you're spamming, the less you're kind of just spreading your damage out between everybody. And when you're going and you're shooting this person and that person and this person and that person, then nobody really ends up dying because you're just tickling everybody.
Okay.
And then at that point, it's just your ult farming, and that's about it. You're not getting kills, you're not getting value. So instead, once these fights start, I would say maybe try to pick out some targets, like try to focus on getting a kill, look for opportunities to get kills, but instead, like I said, it just seems like we're just tossing damage in. And then secondly, maybe we'll go over some target priority in a minute, but I'm noticing maybe not fantastic target priority. Should go over.
Usually, I'm trying to go for the supports, but I know that's not always the case. That's kind of generally like I know those are like in order of most important to least important, and from watching a little bit to kind of prepare myself of some of the other videos you've done with other people, like tanks in most exceptions are you don't want to shoot them, big health, no. Squishies tend to be what you want to go after, and for the characters I play specifically, it feels like you want to be going for the supports more than the DPS. But if you catch a DPS out and you get them low, then of course take them out, because then that's less damage for the enemy team.
Yeah,
that's kind of what I view as like important to least important.
Yeah, I would say that I would just be if you saw my other videos where I talk about that, then you've probably heard me. I mean, you've already heard my arguments about it, but just note that you generally got the right idea. I'm noticing maybe a little bit too much of a focus on their Sigma still, even though that we are aware of that. Besides that, I would say that you have to keep in mind that supports still are going to be harder to kill in a lot of situations than DPS. And then on top of that, DPS can get a bit more consistent burst potential, burst value in terms of like, they can tap 3 heads and get, and win the fight off of that. That sort of thing. And that's not to say that supports are worse, but generally speaking, you might find it easier to kill the DPS in some circumstances, not all. So I would just, honestly, they're about even. They're not super far apart, but I would maybe like have a slight preference on the DPS and then supports and then tanks. That's the rough order I would put it at.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you for the
Okay.
assistance. Adaptive circuits.
I like the frequency in which we're taking this angle. Here we're getting a little bit aggro with the ult, right? Notice how we're kind of just pushing into the middle of their team. We do get the free kill out of it, but we probably could have done something very similar, just sitting up on this high ground and kind of poking at them. This is just really aggro, good kill. Good grasp, good flux. Really great. Ooh, massive, alright. That was a very, very big copy.
I do have a question though.
Yep.
Should you still try to prioritize copying tanks, or do you want to not do that as often since they nerfed the copy?
Alright. Let me ask you a few questions, so maybe we can help you figure that out. Generally speaking, who has out of DPS supports tanks, who is the most powerful ultimates in the game?
DPS and tanks, typically.
I would say very often tanks have the most powerful and also consistently easy to use abilities. So there are among the DPS, you're correct, there are some very powerful ones among DPS, but a lot of those as well are kind of glass cannons and require team support as well. And follow up, like for example, even if you say like Blade is very powerful, okay, well a lot of times you want to combo with Nano. Blossoms, pretty decent, but actually that one's actually pretty solid. But in a lot of cases, generally speaking, tanks have the most powerful ults. It's not an end all be all, but You have things like Flux being super powerful, Grav being super powerful, Shatter being super powerful. On top of that, like you still have more health. I think it was 300 there. You and also tanking abilities and things like that, which can add, even though it's still better than being 200 HP. It adds more tankiness to your ult, which keeps you alive longer. So you have a higher chance of being able to stay alive, a higher chance of being able to actually get your ult off. But at the same time, like you said, it is nerfed, so you're not always gonna want to copy just the tank. So,
yeah, because there are times where I've seen like Sombra, and I'm like, oh, EMP. Of course, that's what I should go for.
Sombra is possibly like a little bit of a hard one because you're so squishy. You may be pressured out before you have a chance to EMP, but Sombra's still a decent option. Really, what I would do is at the start of the way that you can do this, and this is what like I tell Ana players to do with Nano Boost, but you can set up a priority list in your head. So at the very beginning of every round, take a look at your team comp, scan it up, and go, okay, I have 4 characters. Who's the best person to cop? Or sorry, the enemy team, I guess, actually. Never mind, not our team. Enemy team, scan their comp of the 5 players. Think, okay, who's the best person to copy? Who is the second best person? Because let's say the best person is dead. You can't see them. You need an ult, and you just can't access them, whatever. Then you go to the second best, and then third best for the same reason. Think of, that sort of thing. So with their team currently, what they currently have, what would you say would kind of be the copy priority list here?
Before they switched to Reinhardt, it was Sigma was my most important, then probably Ashe for Bob. Or if we needed like the support ult, maybe Kiriko, but that's kind of the 3 I look at on their team.
Kiriko, I haven't seen much of copying of Kiriko yet. I mean, like, just because the game hasn't been, Kiriko hasn't been in the game for that long yet. But I would imagine that you probably are not going to want to copy Kiriko for the reason that she's probably going to be hard to charge your ult up really fast with, unless you see a bunch of people are like low HP and you can heal them up. Especially, I'm just noting that the damage is going to be inconsistent. So that you might not that one I'd say like be a little bit careful about it. If your whole team needs healing, then sure, go for it, because then you could probably get it up really fast. She has a very powerful ability, that sort of thing. But yeah, generally you got it right. So if once they swap to Ryan, I'd probably say Reinhardt's still number 1. You just got to be really careful about going really aggro. Maybe you could say Bob is like on par with Ryan, because you would just need to be super careful since you only have 300 HP. So yeah, that just do that, right? And then that'll help you figure it out. Like, just think through it before the game starts. Yep. I don't like that we dropped to low ground. I probably would have been better if we backed out, like, and gone up to high ground, just because this doesn't really put us in any position to do anything at the moment. We're not going to be able to really damage from here. We're just going to get pressured out super easily from here. We probably want to be up above them, which is good. I like that we're doing this, but we probably just shouldn't have been done that to begin with. We're gonna go over a couple different things if we're back in the training range. All right. Generally speaking, how would you define Echo in terms of range? Like, what range does she want to play at?
Medium to far. I am always ready to for the most time, if you're trying to go for a specific target, trying to get an angle on them with the ability to use your flight or getting close to them to stick your sticky bombs and maybe a couple shots off into focusing beam. That's kind of what is the execute, but
yeah. So I would tweak maybe a couple things about it. And Echo, I will admit, is probably one of the most unique characters in terms of her range, because I would say that it's probably going to be very fluent and fluctuant, whereas most characters kind of have their base preference range and they stick to it most of the time. Whereas Echo, I would say, probably has like two kind of different ranges. She has one range when she's spamming and poking and just shooting it damage in, which is, like you said, I'd probably say more of a medium, maybe long range, but I'd still probably say not even that.
Yeah,
and then
I put the preference on medium versus
yeah.
just...
My skills are improving.
And then the other thing is that when you're looking for kills, now that means that in a lot of cases you're stepping out from that poke range into a close range, or a close to medium range, more accurately.
Yeah.
And let's define a couple reasons why. Firstly, she's pretty good at spam just because of the amount of damage she can easily put out, but she does not always prefer to be far away, and that's because the further away you go, even though you do the same damage from back here, you're going to have fall off, or you're not fall off, sorry, wrong word. From back here, you're shooting projectiles. Projectiles are inherently at a range more difficult to land, right? It's going to be harder to hit your sticky bombs and even just your base fire from this range versus that range, right? There's a big difference. Smaller targets are also smaller to hit. Smaller targets are also going to be easier. So overall, the closer you get, the more shots you're going to be able to hit on people. So you're going to be doing a lot more damage. Besides that, on top of that, like the closer you are, the closer your spread will be. So from back here, we can't really hit more than one headshot at a time. Closer we are, we can hit more headshots. On top of that, what's your, what your range on your focusing beam is?
Isn't it like 30?
30 meters? So that would be this range right here?
Oh, no, I thought... Oh, no, 20. 20.
This range right here?
20, yeah.
Finishing them off.
No.
15 meters.
15, okay.
So lot closer than what we were thinking, right? And that right there, 15 meters, that's your kind of kill range. When you're looking for kills, you're looking to play within this range because you're going to be able to follow up with your focusing beam to burst someone down. And a lot of the times, you're going to find that probably about like half of your kills are going to come from your abilities, because your abilities are going to be doing a lot in terms of securing kills because they burst people down. So, yeah, I would say look to think about when am I poking. Once the fight starts, I would maybe look to step more so inside this range, whereas a lot of the time I'm noticing in your gameplay, you're playing more at that medium range, which medium range would be more like, let's say 15 to like, maybe like 30. That would be maybe your preference. You can very, very possibly go further if like they are running a composition that can't really contest you at all. So like if they're running like, let's say Junkrat Reaper, nothing that can hit you at a range, we can just play super high and nothing can really touch us at all. But besides that, I'd still say medium range maybe as your
15 to
30.
30.
15 to 30 roughly. And then once you're going for that kill, step within that. Because what I saw there as well is that we kind of dropped in and we could have dropped on their heads. What we could have done in that fight was we could have done this, where we could have just dropped in on top of them, gone like this, dead, and then gotten out with our flight if we needed to. But instead, we dropped back here, and then we boosted into them. Which, boosting into someone is not always a bad idea, but that just means that we have less movement to get away. It's just you don't have that burst to escape. So it's going to be more dangerous, and it's also just slower to get the kill. It's going to be give them more time to see you and react to you. So instead of just drop on their heads, get closer. I haven't really seen us use focusing beam too much. I've seen us maybe use it like one time on that Sigma, and that was about it. So look to get a lot more value out of that. So mainly I would say it's just make sure you're just paying attention to when do we get close, when do I stay far. Whereas right now we're just kind of always playing at that medium.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
Now entering Midtown. Ready for battle.
So this right here is what I was talking about.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about.
How we so we
I could have waited instead of going that way around. I could have waited and just.
Oh yeah, you could have waited, or even when we drop here, instead of dropping, look how we hover backwards instead of forwards. So instead of just
I was always kind of in the back of my mind going, okay, is Ryan going to turn around and just charge me? So I was trying to play with
Reinhardt's. Yeah, Reinhardt's probably not the biggest threat here. Ash or Kiriko can probably melt you much faster than Ryan could. Plus, you always have your movement to just get away from the Reinhardt. So Reinhardt's not the threat here.
Okay.
Reinhardt's probably not who you have to worry about. You probably want to be just dropping in, going forwards here rather than backwards. And then that way we don't have to worry about bursting forwards. Might even, like I said, might want to just use that as the escape option if they don't know that we're here. Okay. Notice how we kind of swap targets here again, where we maybe start on the Ash and then we swap to Kiriko, and then I'd say that's the big thing there. Yeah, because now we don't have that. We don't have that as an escape option. We're kind of going around. It's pretty slow.
Yep. I should not be jumping here.
At this point in the fight, it would probably just be best that we let them kill us, or either one of two things. Firstly, we don't get the health back there. So either we should be just trying to heal up and wait until the fight begins, or letting them kill us as fast as possible so we can regroup with our team. But instead, we kind of wait a little while, poke, and then we go in. So we just kind of take a little while, and then that just staggers us even further. It means that we're coming out at a different time than our team.
Oh, I used Reaper in this. I thought I won Junkrat. Oopsies, I forgot I won Reaper here. I thought it was stayed on Echo.
Okay, good kill, but there's a big major issue here that after we get the kill and after we Wraith, we stay in. Now, they have 4 people looking at us, and we have no way to escape. So we dead. There's as simple as that. We're gonna.
I felt ego play here.
Yep. Just use the Wraith, right? Just to escape, and then that's your bait. You pretty much got half the combo right. Your basic combos Reaper is TP above / behind, drop into their back line, shoot them up, maybe get a pick on their supports or DPS. Wraith back to your team, fight on the front line until you get your abilities back, and then you go and then you repeat the process. That's your basic cycle as Reaper. We got half of it, but we didn't Wraith back to our team. Right, so just use that defensively.
My confidence there was like, I can do this.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, even like the top 500s don't wanna even try that, right?
Yeah.
Use your abilities to come back from spawn faster. So there we can maybe be wraithing to just get back. And by the time we get to the fight, we're probably going to have it again. Unless the fight's right there. Really great shots. Okay.
Stupid Junkrat was so annoying.
Noting that the only time I've ever actually seen you get kills is when we're stepping within our proper range. We got kills on with our ult as Echo, and then we're getting kills here with Reaper. And here you are playing within your proper range. You're doing most of that well. Watch your health bar. Wraith when you see Junkrat right here. Right, just gotta watch that damage. Being aware of the Junkrat, Wraithing to dodge it.
Okay.
Okay. Whenever you're TP, generally speaking, you're gonna want to when you do TP, you want both ends of your TP to be hidden. Not one or not the other, or because if one of your ends are out in the open and visible, well, either they know where you're going, or they just know that you are TPing, and generally they can see where you're TPing based off of where you're looking. Like, right, they'll see you're looking up in the air here, so they know, oh, he's TPing up to me on the high ground. So notice how both the Kiriko and Junkrat start shooting at you. Kiriko starts shooting at you before you even teleport. Both of them are looking at you the moment you're up here Whereas, let's say we do this, where we peek, we see, oh, they're up here on the high ground. We double back, so we're around the corner, and then now look at this angle where nobody can see us on both ends of the teleport.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So that's going to be much more sneaky. It means we get up there, and then they're not reacting until we're already shooting at them.
Okay.
Uh-oh, and then that leads to a death again. Lots of deaths happening right now. We'll keep monitoring those, but generally, and we'll maybe go more in depth if we need to, but generally speaking, deaths are real bad. Everybody knows that. We want to look to prevent them from dying. A lot of these deaths have been easily preventable by being, or I guess, firstly, this is usually a good illustration for the concept of self-improvement. Self-improvement is thinking through, like in what I'm doing as well with helping coach you, is we're thinking through what are the mistakes that you're making, and that which here would be you died, right? Obviously death is a mistake. Taking it one step further, thinking through, okay, what are the not just what is the mistake, but also what is the issue behind the mistake? Why did you die? What would you say?
Open where they could see me instead of doubling back.
So that would be like maybe a misuse of abilities, misuse of teleport.
Yes. Yeah.
And then also maybe like a slight lack of awareness and noting that they, like, if you saw that they were both looking at you, maybe we should have wraithed as soon as we teleported. Right? That sort of thing. That's another thing. What are maybe some other things that cause deaths?
Getting so would have been some other deaths that I've had in this game that could have been preventable. Going in from behind and trying to get a pick when instead I should have maybe stuck with my team or waited till
the general term for that would be overextension, going way too far into their team. And then just being, trying to like 1v5, which we also did. Over aggression, when we teleported in and then we wraithed and stayed in their team, right? So that's probably been a big one, right? So far as over aggression, on the Reaper here. And then last one maybe would be a poor positioning, which that one I don't think has been as bad. But that would be like if we're not using cover or things like that. We're out in the open. All right, Wraith did get back faster.
Trying to hold. I tried to touch there, but I missed the thing. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't do this play anymore. Like 1 or 2 times I've seen this, and it always caused a team wipe. But maybe this is something I need to realize is not the most needed endeavor.
Which I don't think it's necessarily like a bad idea to come from that direction. Like if you're attacking.
Yeah. Right here, I've been really trying mostly to use the cover and corners to play around, because it seems that corners are a very important part of Overwatch and like higher up plays. So I've been trying to get in the habit of using like corners.
And I think you've been actually doing a pretty decent job of that. Like here, we're doing a pretty decent job of that. I would say just make sure we're using pressing I need healing when we take damage here. Get your support. That'll get your supports to look at you faster.
Okay.
Okay. Maybe place a trap just to make sure once again you're using your abilities.
I didn't even think about that. Right there was like, oh, he's overextended. Kill him.
Yeah.
I should have trapped him.
Yeah, lots of good damage here. I like it. I
need to use traps more. So
Okay. Watch running at people in a straight line. Notice how we only hold W here, and that's it. W, W, W. Right, just walking in that straight line. That's gonna make it very easy for him to shoot you. Just look to stay a hair back and just dodge his whatnots. We also miss our shots too as well. That's another death. We seem to be dying less on Echo. I'd say that's primarily due to like it was gonna be harder. We are mid-ranged. But we're dying a lot now. Make sure we're looking not to die. Just to really quickly go in depth. We already talked about the how to focus on the other things. But on top of that, just really quickly to emphasize why it's so bad when you die. So far we've died, I don't know, like, what has it been, like 7 times, 8 times? It was 1,
I can look, but
2.
I think let me look. I have my game open. Oh no, I don't. I can check another time, but I died. Yes.
That's all good. So far we've died a bunch. Let's just say for easy sake, let's say 8. Because it was maybe like 2 times on Echo, 3 times on Echo, 2 times on Echo roughly, and then like 5 times on Reaper, 2 times on Junk, or 1 time on Junk, right? Something like that. So then, right, if we have that death rate, if that continues by the end of this game, we're gonna have, roughly speaking, maybe like 14 deaths. 14 deaths every single time you die. It is going to be 10 seconds of respawn, and then roughly speaking 10 seconds of walking back from spawn, which is about 20 seconds per death. Which, if we multiply all that, that's 20 times 14 divided by 60. That means that we're going to be dead and out of this game for, roughly speaking, 4 minutes and 40 seconds.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of time.
Yes.
Right? That's getting close to that's like maybe like a fourth of our game, right?
Yeah.
That's a lot of time to firstly not be participating and doing absolutely nothing, but it's also not just nothing. It is negative for your team, right? You're actively making an impact on losing these fights by dying, and you're lacking the ability to carry these fights. In 4 minutes, you could be getting, like maybe 2, 3 more ultimates, getting a lot of damage, a lot of kills, a lot of abilities out there. Overall, die less. You're going to be doing a whole lot more time to practice as well. Makes sense?
Yep, that makes sense. I think I was also slightly tilted by this Junkrat on the enemy team the entire game.
Yeah.
What? The problem.
What makes you perceive him as the problem? Because I don't even know if I've seen him necessarily like hard carry.
I mean, towards the end of the game, it was just like it felt like he was always the one kind of doing the most on the enemy team, like damage wise, and he was always getting like the picks. So my perception was like, oh, I need to deal with him. So I think I started focusing too much on him and like trying to make sure he was out of the team fights rather than trying to play the team fights and looking at it objectively instead of
and that's not always a bad thing. Like you can be objective and I still identify a strong player. That's fine. The main thing is just not getting tilted just because people are playing the game well, right? It's competitive, so that's gonna happen pretty frequently. People are going to be.
I don't know why I thought that was a hole. I don't know why I did that.
You can actually stand on that on all 4 sides. So you can stand up here on this side. You can stand here on the other side. You can stand here and here.
Okay.
Oh, wrong view. There we go.
I am not the Ana.
All right, so this right here is inappropriate timing for an ultimate for a couple different reasons. So let's see if we can I guess right off the bat, would you like to see if you can identify a couple of different reasons why?
Nobody's around. There. Yes.
It's fine if you don't. I can go into it.
I'm not saying yes or no.
Not saying yes or no. So right now, this is already essentially a 1 fight, or this is in between fights. It is a 5v3. They have 2 people who got bad spawns. right now, what we should be doing is just pushing as 4 people and just going and cleaning up these guys, getting some stagger kills. But there's no reason why you should be, why you would need to ult in a situation like this, because it's essentially ulting in an already won fight. It's overkill. It's not needed. Generally speaking, you want to use ults at the start of fights. Mid fight is okay. Late fight is situational. And then in between fights, which includes after and before fights, that's going to be very rare. Do you ever want to ult during those times? Maybe a situation would be like if it's last fight. That'd be maybe the exception in a lot of cases. So that all makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just be better if we held it for the fight. And then I think it's probably gonna detonate. Oh. We probably could have gone in with that a little bit. Like, just make sure you're detonating it when you get in range. We're definitely right here. We're within range.
Okay.
That's that.
Right.
He's dead right here.
Okay. Yeah. So I realized my mistakes here. What I'm doing, but it's good to watch it through and still. I kept hearing this Junkrat. This Junkrat was annoying me. There he is.
Okay, once again, noting that we have yet to use trap, so abilities that aren't used don't do anything. So we haven't used trap. On Echo, we use focus beam once, so make sure we're just using these abilities so they're doing things. Nice kill. Though watch your health bar, because if she's this low, we might not even need a mine, and that just wastes the ability.
I should have been spamming here. I realized that.
Okay, so a couple things. Firstly, if we're trying to be on the sneaky angle, consider crouching rather than walking around, especially since Junkrat's left footsteps. That's gonna that will muffle your footstep sounds and make it so you're not as they can't know that you're over here. Also, don't jump as well. That's gonna stop them from knowing that you're here. Okay, so couple issues. Firstly, we're just kind of out of the out of the fight. Yeah, out of the fight is the main thing. Just because we're kind of so far off on the side. Then here when we go to kill Junkrat, we miss a couple shots, and we also want to make sure we're going for the shot mine. Yeah, that's gonna finish him off. At this point, it's lost. Just that's where you just let him kill you.
Yeah.
Request healing. Make sure you're not sitting at 50 HP. Also, don't peek at 50 HP, especially when they have a visor, right? Instead, you can go like a different way. You can drop through this left room. You can go into the right room. There's a health pack in that right room. There's so there. If we drop this way, maybe we can try to get healing from our support. Over here, there's a health pack. Main thing is don't re-peek into damage. If there's people that damage you.
Okay. Oh, I can't wait till Zarya's nerfed. I'm looking way too spazzy here. Oops.
Now, this maybe isn't like as much of an issue on some of the characters you play because you're playing right now. You're playing Junk. You play Genji, Hanzo, Reaper. But if you're playing characters like Sombra, Tracer, Widow, it looks as though you have a high sensitivity. Am I mistaken in that? Do you know what your sensitivity and DPI are at?
I'm at 800 DPI. I think I'm at 6 in game. Let me look. Hold on. I think I'm at 6.45
Okay.
and 800.
Well, that's not like too bad. 6.4. Yeah, that's like
Yeah,
more. That's maybe more of like a medium sensitivity or like like a low medium. So I wouldn't say that's too bad. If you feel like your screen's just a little bit too jittery, sometimes that can make it harder to see what's going on. It can make your shots harder. Potentially think about lowering it a bit more. Just dabble around with it. And then besides that, yeah, ooh, didn't mean to do that. Okay.
Yeah, the Zarya just went nuts here. We kind of don't move from this corner.
Okay. I'll go over a couple things here. Firstly, what would you say Junkrat's preference range is? Close. I think especially on that second point, we were lacking that. We were standing way too far away. We were playing Junkrat like he was a medium, maybe long-range character, right? When Junkrat is a close-range character, like you said. Also, aim-wise, we're doing a lot of this. Right?
Yes.
Not going to want to do that usually, because that's just going to make it... Couple things why you don't want to do it like that. Firstly, because this probably is going, depending on what's on the floor in front of you and what your angle is, this is probably going to kind of make it less consistent where your shots are going. It's not really practicing consistent shots when you're doing this. Additionally, notice how it's like exploding before it even reaches these people.
Yeah.
Let's see, what's the range on this? Can we get that we can get it to bounce? Like we can't. It doesn't even go that far if we're trying to bounce it off of the ground. Because as soon as it hits that ground, right, it's going to explode, and that just means you're not getting as much. If we're not hitting the direct shot, notice how little damage we're doing if we're not hitting it directly. So we want to make sure we're going for these direct shots. So I'd say angle up more, arc your shots. Look to go for combos more, right? Your shot mine as your combo to finish off kills. Get a bit closer. Make sure you're thinking through target priority still, because we kind of turned that corner. The first thing we're shooting at is Zarya. Things of that nature. You're probably going to be getting some more kills. I think that's a lot of what I was going to discuss on Junkrat. Before you ult, always place a trap first, just because, you know, if anybody comes for you, you can trap them and then they die to your self mines, that sort of thing. That's about it.
Okay.
Alright, we got... Yeah, go ahead.
Next, I did want to ask, what is Genji's effective range? I feel like it's close, but sometimes I'm unsure when I should be. I understand watching, again, some of your other people, like, one to do the triple versus single, but I also... The thing that
excuse me, can you say that again? Triple versus single, like, are you talking about left click versus right click?
Yes, like,
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
What range to do, like, left clicking, and then what range, like, should you be going in and going, like, with his triple, which does more damage, his triple shuriken, which does more damage. The thing that I'm...
Yeah, sorry, just real quick, know that it doesn't do more damage. They both do the exact same amount of damage. It's just that one the right click has a faster fire rate.
Okay.
So you're getting overall more damage because you're shooting them faster. Go ahead.
The thing that I wanted to ask about is, when should I be going, okay, I need to go into their team here, and when should I just be with my team and fighting with them, not trying to be, like, in their backline and getting picks? Like, when do I want to be using Flash, and when do I...
Overall, like a couple, so it's a couple different things, right? So firstly, your general range as Genji is a close range. You really, your dash range is kind of the furthest away you want to be, which is about 15 meters.
15,
that's the furthest away you want to be from people as your preference. Of course, if you're forced to, like, let's say you're walking into the fight or backing out of a fight, that's when you will be further away. Or if you need to take time to close the distance, you want to try to close the distance. But you never want to spend an entire fight back here. because that's never how you want to play as Genji, because you're not gonna be doing. There's much better characters to do that. Hanzo, Soldier, Ashe, Sojourn, Widowmaker, etc., etc., etc. There's so many characters that do this better. So you need to be in there, need to be doing things inside of them. Now, like other things to answer your question, I feel like sometimes we're going for too many flanky plays, and you want to understand that there's a difference between flanking and off-angling. Off-angling is essentially flank light, and in a lot of cases it's going to be superior. Not always, but in a lot of cases. Enemy team right there, our team right here. This is what you call the main angle. If we're trying to go down here, we're just shooting into shields and tanks, and that's just not always bad. If this is close to them, then this can be okay. But how we can just easily get to their backline is just by doing something like this. This is very fast. It's very safe. We can very easily get back to our team by going either way, and that's what you call an off angle. It's a different angle from the main. Enemy team, our team, main angle. Okay, we'll come up to high ground real quick. Off angle. High grounds act as off angles. Now, a flank would be if we went all the way around, They're much longer, much more dangerous. Make sure that we're not doing these in the middle of fights, because this can put us outside of the fight for a super long period of time. And then be careful about which characters you're doing it on. You only want to do that on characters that have high survivability and high mobility. Genji and Echo are maybe like situational flankers. They're not, you don't want to flank with them all the time, whereas Sombra, Tracer, and Soldier are very flanky characters. They can flank pretty much whenever. Main difference noting that like Genji and Echo don't really have very reliable self-healing.
Yeah, okay. Then that answers my question.
So just looked at, and off angles are just gonna be a really easy way to get in on top, on top of them without needing to go all the way behind into the back line.
Okay. Work on not dying.
Say that again?
I'm saying working on not dying.
Yep. So let's do a really quick wrap up review main points since we only have 4 minutes left. Ability usage, use just your abilities a bit more often. Echo, focus beam, use it more often. Combo together with your other abilities to melt people and shred them. You even use sticky bombs, just toss them in there, do more with them more frequently. Fly, I would say that you use pretty solidly. Just, if you have the option, use it as the get out. Sometimes you can use it as an aggro, but if you can just drop on their heads, no reason to use it aggro, and we can use it to back out. Overall on Echo, probably goes to about a, let's see, a low to medium priority or so. Then we have Reaper, and we have, what else did we have? Reaper and Junkrat. Reaper, make sure you're not staying in with Wraith. You TP in, you Wraith out. Then Junkrat is going to make sure you're using trap more often. Combo with your mines. A lot of times mines would come on their own without other additional shots, so we'd kind of just send people flying rather than actually getting kills with them. Overall, all the ability, Reaper maybe a little bit higher, and Junkrat a little bit lower, but roughly speaking, ability usage maybe higher end of low to medium, something like that. Honestly, I don't have time to do like the full review on all 3 characters, so let's like speed through a little bit more here.
I think Echo is the one I want to focus on more. I think Junkrat, I've realized maybe I'm just going to not focus on as much because she doesn't fit my playstyle as well from seeing it, so I think I'm going to just drop that entirely and focus more on like Echo, Genji, Tracer, and Sombra right now, and focus on those 4. Lower the amount.
That's fair. So overall ability usage, let's honestly if you're just doing Echo, let's put it at medium for Echo, right? Then ult usage, let's put that as a low to medium, right? Maybe just think through the targets, but overall everything that I saw was good with ults. And also don't use it in between fights. Then you have mechanics, target priority. Make sure that you are besides that,
using bombs off cooldown.
So using what off cooldown?
Bombs, sticky bombs.
Yeah, sticky bombs off cooldown, but that's part of abilities usually. Junkrat, don't shoot into the ground. Overall mechanics, probably low to medium, not super high. Then we have your positioning. Positioning, make sure you're using cover, make sure that you are playing within your... That was the big one, probably, is play within your preference range and play as your character wants to play. Echo was when you're poking, your medium range, 15 to 30. When you're actually in the fight, trying to get kills, you're playing within 15 meters, right? So you can beam things down. Junkrat was, roughly speaking, you're a closer range character trying to play within that 15 meters. And then, you know, if you need to, sometimes you get further. And, like, maybe when you're just poking, that sort of thing. And then you have, finally, Reaper, who is, once again, a close range character. Play within your preferences. Overall, that one was probably... Also, off-angling and flanking, we talked about that at the end. Overall, that was probably, like, a medium high or maybe lower end of medium high, something like that.
Okay.
Then finally we got awareness. Pay attention, or I guess second to finally. Awareness, pay attention to your surroundings, press I need healing when you're low. Make sure you're just paying attention to where's my team at, where's the enemy team at, watch kill feed, make sure we're just paying attention to kind of the flow of the fight, keep your ears open. That's one maybe we could have discussed a little bit more on that we didn't. And overall that one's probably like a medium. And then finally we have survivability, make sure you're looking to stay alive, think through all the different reasons why you're dying. We died a lot to overextension, so over-aggression, just kind of running into their team. We died a few times to misuse of abilities, and then also just a lack of awareness.
Okay.
There's a lot of times.
Alrighty.
Excuse me, one second, I have to cough. Alright, so yeah, to put out that all in order, I'd say number one, focus on abilities, especially with Echo. Or sorry, no, not abilities, that was wrong. Positioning was probably number one. Then number two is probably going to be... Why don't we put number two at abilities, just because that's probably one of the easier ones to implement, hopefully. Just pressing them more often, especially once you're within range. Number three, then we can put at your... Probably awareness, then your mechanics, and then ult usage kind of comes last. Any questions?
Okay. Nope. All of it's pretty clear.
Alrighty, sounds good.
All worked on. Thank you.